Hey y'all, enjoying a bowl of pirate cake and here to do a movie review. A review of One Last Thing with Wendell Pierce, who you might know from Treme or further back, The Wire. Chubby, extremely likable black guy. He was a partner of that Irish cop in The Wire. That's Wendell Pierce. And a couple of other actresses that you'd recognize from TV or whatever, but not be sure of their names. And right now I'm not sure of their names. I'm going to pause this as the train goes by. You know, for a small film, it was pretty well done. I mean, there's some glaring weaknesses in its execution. But the story was a nice story. And you definitely connected with the characters and wanted them to be well and have a happy ending. Now, you should know there are going to be spoilers ahead. But, you know, there's a little tension at the end. Will this happen? Won't this happen? All pretty predictable, and the easy way out, I suppose, is taken. But I don't mind that. I don't mind it when stories choose to be happy. You know, I'm totally fine with that. So the basic story: Wendell Pierce plays a dentist in Florida. Empty house, relatively empty life. He works and he plays golf. That's all he does. Seems like a relatively cheerful person, but that's all he does. He's friends with his dental hygienist, and you know, there's a little bit of romantic tension there. But it turns out that he's had a private investigator, kind of, you know, I guess on and off over 20 years, looking for his disappeared wife or girlfriend and their child. So right away, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, the detective has found them. Found not her, not the wife, but his long-lost daughter. So he goes up to New York to meet her. And, of course, wow, shocking surprise. And there are quite well-done moments in the movie of the awkwardness of that. Of him, he kind of stalks her for a little bit because, you know, he's just not sure about how to approach her. And there's a lot of endearing stuff. I will say that, while it's often kind of cute, the connections to the characters, they're all likable, but you don't feel deep empathy for them. Some of that is down to the dialogue and some down to the acting. There were several moments when both of the main actors had false moments that made the movie, you know, that should have been retakes. Wendell Pierce, for example, seems like the kind of guy who just kind of basically plays himself. But, you know, everyone who's acting is an actor, and there are moments when that sincerity, even of playing yourself, they broke down in his face and took me out of the moment. The main actress has similar moments. And then the dialogue often over-explains. There's not a lot of dialogue, which is actually quite nice. You know, people just talk, whatever. But they always add that last little line when something's happening to explain what has just happened, like a kid's cartoon. That being said, the characters were endearing, and you felt sympathy, if not empathy. Early on, he discovers, as he's kind of sort of stalking her and checking out the lay of the land, that his daughter has a girlfriend. So she's lesbian. But that's definitely kind of to the side of the whole thing, like it's dealt with relatively quickly. It's just a part of the background and the reality, which is what this video is actually building toward. So, his daughter turns out is sick. She needs a new kidney. And I'm going to say it brutally short, but, you know, there's some evolution of the story and building of relationships, blah, blah. You know, some good stuff. But the end result is, of course, that he gives his kidney to this woman. But not before they find out she's not actually his daughter. So they have this whole falling out because they've spent all this time building up this relationship. But she's not actually his daughter, and she can't deal with that. He gives her his kidney anyway. So, because of how this all happens, and because, of course, of the momentousness of that actual deed, she calls him dad, and they truly feel like father and daughter. And it's actually quite moving. You know, it's a cool story. And the end of the movie is really where it all comes together as far as the message of the movie. The girl has fallen in love with the nurse who was looking after her. So the two of them are a couple. And then the dentist has gotten together with the dental hygienist. They're a couple. And you see at the end, years have gone by. There's photos on the wall because this man's house used to have no pictures. There are photos on the wall of their family moments together, the four of them, these two couples. And they're carving up the turkey for Christmas. There's a Christmas tree and they're carving it. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone loves everybody. Everybody says, I love you. It's wonderful. And the last shot is a picture of the four of them. Right? The girl, her nurse is now her wife, the dentist and the hygienist, in front of a sailboat or whatever, and it's in a frame that says family. And it just kind of zooms in on it and sits there for a while. And the basic message there is that, you know what, we make our own family. And, you know, it's framed very positively. And, you know, it's quite moving that they decide to be family, even though they're not family. And that's a real thing, and that's a part of being human, and it's beautiful. And sometimes our own families are broken, our true families, which was the case in this movie. It's often the case in our lives. And we end up creating sort of new families very often. Family is a flexible concept. Which is why this movie is such a fabulous piece of gay propaganda. Right? I mean, sorry, camera was too full. We should be good now. The TV has been, and movies have been sort of inculcating this idea in us. Well, there's been an effort to normalize, right? And some of that has to be done by discrediting other models. But most of it is tried to be, you know, people are trying to frame it positively. And the best work toward that goal is when things are in the background, right? When it's just a part of normal life. We're normal people in a normal neighborhood with normal lives, and a normal part of that is homosexuals, homosexual acceptance, homosexual marriage. They're an integral part of the fabric of our society. So just like everyone else, they're in the background, right? They're in our backgrounds of our lives. And so really, what this movie ended up being, you know, was a slightly clumsy but endearing small film. But perhaps its main purpose really was to serve as this sort of propaganda. To normalize homosexual marriage. And it was particularly well done how the thing slid from the background to the foreground, right? They kind of brought it up. But without making it an integral part of the story. Instead, they made it an integral part of the point of the story. Right? So in the story, you're not distracted by the fact that she's a lesbian. Okay? It's part of the story. She breaks up with her girlfriend. Her girlfriend doesn't treat her great. And she meets this other girl. But it's all very much in the background. It's about the father and the daughter. But at the end, there they are, right? All four of these people have made their own family. They've created it out of thin air into being a real thing, all right? That's the point. And so we're supposed to think this is what family is, right? We invent our own families. We make our own families. And it's true family, like whoever I choose, regardless of what the of what traditional relationships might be, or what the purpose of the relationship is. It's really all about who I want to be with, who loves me, and who I love. Ignoring sexuality and sex. I mean, in one way it's about sex, but in another way it's very definitely not, right? Because it's sterile sex. And the thing that's striking about this image that they show at the end of the four of them is there are no children. Right? And can you be a family with no children? Of course you can. But ultimately it's so depressing. You know, what are these people living for? You know, you're loving each other because it's more painful to live without someone who cares for you. But that's a minimalist, survivalist sort of philosophy. It's not creative. But you know, we Christians, we have to lay some of this at our own doorstep, because we have allowed our society to be sterile, and we ourselves are sterile. And I mean that in every sense of the word, not just about having children. We are sterile. We are not creative. We are not creating. We are living for convenience and just trying to get through our lives. And if that's what we're doing, then why shouldn't I marry a man? Yeah, sure, it's sterile. Sure, it's uncreative. I mean, men and women, so different, so weird with each other. That right there is a creative clash. Right, but then you have children, and you have legacy, and you make things. You don't just make people, you make things for the rest of humanity and for other people in a way that is not abstract. Homosexuality abstracts us from creation. Camille Paglia has some great work on this. And ultimately, a movie like this is trying to do that. It's trying to abstract us from creation and tell us that, you know, we're just these beings floating in time. Our lives will be short. We're just floating in time. And we should make our floating more enjoyable by finding people to love and who love us. But we're just floating. We're just these spirits. We're just these beings. So what does it matter what your body is and what my body is? So although it wasn't a really finely executed movie, like a wonderfully executed movie, it was a wonderfully executed piece of propaganda. Man, I could go to so many places from here, into you know, the Gnostic places that homosexuality and homosexual marriage takes us to, the acceptance of it take us to, and how we're in danger in the future of despising our fellow man precisely because we're separating our love from ourselves, from who we are, which includes our bodies. So when you see movies and TV shows that put this sort of thing in the background to normalize it, there's a whole lot more at stake. There, you know, existence, like, you know, an existential crisis is upon us. And this is an existential problem. It's more than just the political right and the political left. It's more than just the religious and the irreligious. It's an ontological question. It's a question about what we are here for and what gives meaning to our lives. All right, y'all. That's it. The peace of Christ be upon you.